Hi, sixth graders. April is the month and books are what we are talking about. It is time for another book talk from me. And before we get there, I wanted to share a couple of announcements with you and also point you to something in our library catalog. So in fact, why don't I get to the catalog first? I understand you're going to be doing some things with narrative nonfiction coming up. And so just a reminder that on our library homepage, you of course can visit the catalog at any time, and it's a great way to shop for books by author and title and genre. This banner at the top is always changing, so it's always giving you some new ideas of different books to look at, different ideas of genres and different titles that you may not be aware of. Those topic buttons are there for you by genre, and that can be really helpful if you already know that there's a particular type of book that you like to read. But don't forget as well that underneath we have these collections, and the collections offer for you another way to do some browsing. We've got this video game fiction, for example. If you're someone that likes to read about animals, we've got an animal lovers collection. And if you use the arrow off to the side here, you can see more of those collections. And narrative nonfiction is one of those collections. If I select this one, it brings me to 93 different titles. And with narrative nonfiction, this would be any of those stories that are about someone's true life story. A memoir, a biography, an autobiography. And as you are delving into that genre a little bit in these next few weeks, this would be a great collection for you to take a look at. You can scroll down, you can read a little bit of a summary. If you click on one of these titles, for example, it will tell you a little bit more in that info. Oops, looks like maybe there we go, wanting to do that for us. And it tells us where I can find it on the shelf, with our call number. Gives me a little bit of info about the number of pages that the book is, etc. And so just a reminder that is there as a collection, and it might be something that will help you shop for a book that you will want to read in that genre. So I do have a couple brief announcements. I wanted to mention that this spring, as we get into the months of April and May, I do have a spring reading challenge available to you. If you're someone who's going to be reading already or reading for classes, please think about using this spring reading challenge bingo card. I've got a link on our library homepage that will be available, as well as a link I'm putting out on Schoology. And you can download this to Notability, fill it out anytime between now and May 21st. There's lots of fun options on here, everything from reading poetry, to visiting the library, to reading a mystery or a book of a certain length, even reading recipes and making something, or the captions on a favorite movie or TV show. We're trying to get you to read in all kinds of different ways, and you can cross those off as you do them. Write out the descriptions for us, and then send me that bingo sheet back over email. And you're eligible for a prize drawing if it's turned in by May 21st. Have fun with it, enjoy, do some reading here as we wrap up this sixth grade school year, and let me know if you have any questions. Other announcements, I'm excited that we're going to get to do a book fair outside the week of May 10th through the 14th. We had to do an online book fair earlier this year, so I'll be giving you some more information about that one as it gets closer. And then also we will have all of our library books and materials due back by Friday, May 28th. I especially want to mention that if you do have some things that are still due from your elementary school, this is the time to dig around at home. Look under your bed, check in your car, see if there are things that need to get taken care of, cleaned off your record. Stop down and talk to us about either paying those off to your old school, or if you want to work it off in some way. We have a read-off program that we can talk to you about, and would love to help you with that. So we do want to get a nice clean record for you as you head into your summer break, and get those things back by Friday, May 28th. Thanks in advance for helping us to do that. All right, Mrs. Martin, enough with the announcements. Let's get to the books. My first one today comes from our sports section. It's called Nikki on the Line by Barbara Carroll Roberts. And you can see this is a basketball story, but it's really about a girl who's under a lot of stress. And I think anybody can relate to that. So even if you're not someone who plays a sport, I think that you'd enjoy this read. Nikki wants to be a big basketball star. She's always been a really good player. She has been selected to play on a higher level basketball team because she is that good. And she's feeling good about it, right? You know, she's getting to play with the taller, stronger girls, excited. The thing is, though, if you have ever been in this situation, if you get to play or do something with the more talented, the more athletic, students, all of a sudden you're not the best on the team any longer. You, in fact, might feel like you're kind of at the bottom of the barrel and everybody else is sort of above you. Well, that's how Nikki's feeling. She's not the best point guard anymore. In fact, she's not a point guard at all. And she's trying to figure out now how she's going to fit in on this new team. She knew her job before. It was to be the star player. Well, now that's not the case. The stress continues to pile on. Nikki's best friend is spending more and more time with another girl on the team while Nikki's, playing, on this other team. Her science teacher has also assigned this project involving a family tree. And Nikki does not want to do this assignment because if she does, it would cause her to have to reveal something pretty embarrassing. A secret about her family that she does not want to tell anyone. And so she doesn't want to do that. And there's other stress going on in her story. She's doing some babysitting of a younger sibling that is, really causing a lot of problems and other pieces in her life. If this book sounds like one you'd want to read and you want to find out how Nikki's going to manage all of that, how is she going to balance everything and find her place on this team, check it out. Nikki on the Line by Roberts in Sports. When Stars Are Scattered by Victoria Jameson and Omar Mohammed. This is a graphic novel, and Victoria Jameson's name sounds familiar. You may have read her book, Roller Girl. Omar Mohammed's name might not be familiar, but he is paired with Victoria in writing this story because this is Omar's true life story. He told his own life experience to Victoria so that she could write his story as this book. Omar and his younger brother Hassan have spent most of their lives in Dadaab, which is a refugee camp in Kenya. And in this story, the two of them living there are experiencing a great deal of hardship. There's never enough food. They're without access to the medical care that they need. And Omar's brother Hassan is nonverbal, and he needs a lot of medical care, and he's not able to get it because of the conditions of this refugee camp. Omar is given an opportunity to go to school, and it's a big deal because in doing so, he knows this could really open up some future possibilities for himself and his brother. But it also means leaving his brother, his only family member, every single day while he goes off to school. This is the story about this young man able to create this family and home in a really difficult place. And it's a true story. Omar Mohammed telling this true story to Victoria Jameson, an author, who then has put it together in this book. Beautiful, beautiful story, beautifully written. You're going to absolutely love it. And it's in our graphic novel section, When Stars Are Scattered. Another graphic novel to share with you called Brazen, Rebel Ladies Who Rocked the World by Penelope, and I hope I'm pronouncing her last name, Bajou, correctly. This one, I don't say this very often, but I would even suggest this isn't even a book you would have to read from cover to cover. You wouldn't have to read the whole thing. It's broken up into little tiny stories with obviously illustrations, all about women who have made history. They did things that, as she said here, who rocked the world, right? They were feisty. Some of them were really well-known names. You'll read them and think, oh my gosh, I know who that is, of course. Others, you may not recognize their names at all. I put a picture here on the screen. One of them is the actress who played the part of the Wicked Witch of the West, if you know that character from the Wizard of Oz movies. Talks a little bit about what she was asked to do in that movie and how she made her decisions about that, what she did and didn't do. And it's about these women and some of their experiences in life and how they stood up for what they believed in. And it's such a cool book to flip through because you get the opportunity in these little snippets to meet these women, and they might inspire you to go on and research and learn more about them. But again, I'd say this might be a book you wouldn't have to necessarily read cover to cover. You could check it out. You could flip through. You could kind of pick and choose the women that you wanted to read a little bit more about. Or you could, of course, read it all the way through. It's captivating. The illustrations are fantastic. And so many people you're going to read about that you wouldn't know otherwise. Really cool. Love the way that Penelope put this book together as a graphic novel. Check out Brazen, Rebel Ladies Who Rocked the World. If you haven't yet read Refugee by Alan Gratz, I couldn't help myself. I have to share it. This story of 3 different kids in 3 different time periods from 3 different places in the world and how their stories come together. I absolutely love this historical fiction read. Joseph is a Jewish boy living in 1930s Nazi Germany. There's the threat of concentration camps looming. We've got, World War II just kind of on the horizon, and he and his family head out on a ship, and they're approaching. They're trying to leave for safety. Isabel, another character, is a Cuban girl in 1994, and there's a great deal of riots, danger in her country, and her family takes off on a raft, hoping to find safety in America. Mahmoud is our third character, a Syrian boy in the year 2015, and his country is being torn apart by war and destruction, and he and his family begin this long journey toward Europe. All 3 kids have this in common. They are seeking refuge and going on these long, very dangerous journeys, trying to find a place of safety. And although they're separated by continents and decades, there are all these connections that will tie their stories together in the end. This book is, I think, one of Alan Gratz's best, and I'd highly recommend it. Poisoned by Jennifer Donnelly is the story of Snow White, kind of. What if in Snow White we questioned the idea of happily ever after? And what if the jealous queen of that fairy tale wasn't actually to blame? Let's take a look at our author telling us a bit more about her version.
Those emotions, they were put on hold by time, but at Claire's Bridal Week.
Hi everyone, this is Jennifer Donnelly, the author of Stepsister, and I'm here today with my lockdown buddy Dante to tell you a little bit about my newest book, Poisoned. Poisoned is a retelling of the Snow White fairy tale, and that is a fairy tale I have always loved. It scared me to death when I was a kid. Not so much because of the evil queen and the poisoned apple, but because of that mirror, because it talked and it spoke in this spooky, hollow voice, and it told the queen everything that she wasn't, and she believed it. My whole life I've wondered about that voice in the mirror, wondering who it was and what he wants, and I wrote Poisoned really to unmask that voice and to try to silence it a bit. Sophie's an unlikely hero. She's an anxious girl, a misfit, one who's been told over and over again that she's lacking, that she's not enough. She's very soft-hearted and kind, and that makes her a big disappointment to her evil queen stepmother. During the course of the story, Sophie quite literally loses her heart, but on her quest to recover it, she learns that kindness is the greatest strength, and she learns that the things that make us all wrong are sometimes exactly the things that make us perfect. Hi everyone, this is Jennifer Donnelly, the author of Step.
You can check out Poisoned or her book Stepsister, which of course is a little twist on the Cinderella story in our fantasy section. One last one for your consideration today is in our memoirs, our narrative nonfiction, again, thinking about the fact that that's something you all are going to be delving into a little bit. If you've read Wonder by R.J. Palacio or liked that story, maybe saw the movie, this is kind of a real-life wonder. Ugly by Robert Hogue is the story of a man who, as a child, he was born with this giant tumor on his forehead, really distorted facial features and legs that were twisted and useless. His mom, in fact, refused to look at her son when he was born, sent him away in the hospital, wouldn't look at him for over a week, and then wouldn't even bring him home. But eventually home he went, and against all odds had this incredible life. It was a life that was filled with a lot of grueling, dangerous operations that made medical history, and it gradually improved his life and his kind of well-being. But among all of that, he also had a ton of super ordinary, just like every other person's life experiences. Bad haircuts, visits to the pool, camp, right? Sports, things like that, even among all of the other things that he experienced. So this book is the story of his life. It's a pretty short read. It's from the time of his birth all the way to the arrival of his own daughter. So you learn about him getting to his adulthood, getting married, having a family of his own. And it's the story of how the support of family, the love of family and friends can really help you to overcome a great deal of hardship, things that make life, particularly difficult. So all of those books today, I know are adding up to a great list that you've had throughout this school year. I'd encourage you to look back, too, at some of the titles that I shared early on this year, maybe some that you had to put on hold at one point or another. This might be a good time to revisit some of those, because there might be titles that you didn't get a chance to check out before and might get to now. But if I can help you with anything in terms of a recommendation, if there was a book you loved or an author and you want an idea, I hope you'll stop down to the library or message me on Schoology. I love hearing from you and would love to help connect you with a book that's just right for you. Thanks so much for your attention, and happy reading.